Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Health, Wisdom, and Wealth Show. Powerful conversations for living your best life with your host, me, Velan Hawkins. And I'm so excited to be here today to share with my friend, Carol Johnson. We're going to be in the conversation of, excuse me, successful solutions can create great second chances. So, as I always say, pull up a chair to the table, get your notepad out, or just kick back and be with us as we begin this conversation. Because if you've ever wanted to know the truth about successful solutions creating great second chances, it's going to be talked about right here. So, with that said, let me just tell you a little bit about Carol. She is a second chance coach with successful solutions. She's a healthy lifestyle coach, and she is truly an advocate for women and women in business. And let me tell you, as she does her thing, she's just creating connections, and she's assisting people to find balance, reduce stress, and get what they want out of life. Don't we all want that? Carol shows them how to discover their likes and dislikes while giving them the confidence to move forward and dream again. She is great at encouraging and uplifting people, helping them to see their true potential. And her clients are typically women going through a transition, like being a single mom, getting a divorce, and being single, as well as possibly being a single mom, or blending families. And she really enjoys giving people hope again. And that's one of the things I love and admire about Carol. It comes out in everything that she says, in her demeanor, and how she actually gives great input into conversations. So join us as Carol shares her story and her journey on helping people to heal, to prevent and reverse or rediscover, actually, the joy in healthy living. Hi, Carol.
Hi,
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. It is so great to be here with you today.
I'm very happy to be here.
Because I think at some point in life, we have all been in some situation that has felt like a second chance at, the new job, a second chance at the new relationship because of divorce, or just seeing the kids that we had so many years with as a single parent, or maybe even a short time with, leave the nest and fly like the little birdies that they were to become. And
Right.
So I'm really excited to be in this conversation with you because, as you probably know, the undergirding message in our show is really about using lifestyle and food as medicine so that you can live your best life. And I've seen all kinds of people make all kinds of shifts to get to that better life journey. And I'm really happy we're going to be in that conversation today. So let's get into it. Tell us a little more about you, your journey towards this focus on guiding people to this new phase of their lives and creating second chances to live that better, more fulfilling life.
Awesome. I would love to share my story. So back when I was a wee little child, no, I'm just kidding. So I ended up getting separated about 11 or 12 years ago. And my ex-husband and I had a very successful construction business. And I loved what I did. I used to draw plans and create space, and it was fabulous. But after our divorce, I lost myself. I completely felt inadequate. I didn't feel good as a mom. I didn't feel good that I was getting divorced. And I just was really unhappy. And at one point, I was doing all the good things I should be doing. I was running Bible studies, and I was helping at the school, and I was volunteering for anything and everything I could possibly volunteer for. And then one day I realized I was doing all of that so I didn't have to deal with what was in my head. I didn't want to deal with the hurt and the pain and all of that. And finally, I realized I didn't have the energy to take care of anything because I was spread so thin, and I had to put myself first. So I started putting myself first, and I started having more energy. I started becoming a better mom, better person, and becoming really who I wanted to be instead of who everyone else wanted me to be. So that's kind of my story and how I got to where I am. And now I love helping women do that and find what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, what can they move forward doing. Maybe they're in a job they don't like, maybe they're in a relationship they don't like, or they just keep dating people that they feel they deserve and really not what they want. Maybe not something for a long-term relationship. Not that anyone wants a long-term relationship right after getting a divorce, but we can become who we are and love who we are just as we are. And that's really my biggest lesson.
And that's when we bring in the beautiful relationships, right?
Right.
When we feel good about ourselves and we can first be our own best friend, that
Yes.
wholeness that comes about within us and exudes from us is what others find attractive, right?
Right. Because if we don't like ourselves, why would we want to expect other people to like us, right? But there's always something that other people see in us that we don't see. And sometimes it just takes somebody to shine a mirror on you to see all that greatness.
I agree that, yeah. So, Carol, getting second chances sounds like something we all want in life. We've all experienced it on some level. You live long enough, and you've had a few second chances, hopefully. Um, Yet, with some of the coaching that you've done, what would you say is the biggest challenge that women face that brings them into this space of moving into a second chance at life?
I think the biggest challenge is we as women are so used to being caretakers that we do everything that everyone asks us to do, and we forget to say yes to ourselves. And so when we realize how important we are and how our self-care is super important, then we have healthier relationships and we can put our time where we want to put our time, and we just have happier lives.
We do. And the key is, there's the old, it's become an old adage now, put your own oxygen mask on first, and then you
Absolutely.
can help someone else put theirs on. So,
Right.
and then within relationships, it's, we were brought up, and I think most women were brought up to believe that the relationship is someone else's to basically define so that we know how to fit in, yet that also creates problems. And do you find that it's relationship issues? Is it relationship issues that lead to single parenting? And is it, the transition from job to job? I mean, what are some of the biggest things that you actually see that people go through? Just so that we have a context of what's the most common issue out there.
So I think, again, as women, we like to be there and support others. So we want to be kind. We want to be viewed as kind sometimes, depending on if we're a nurturer or what our main attributes are, right? We want to make others happy. We want people to love us, but we shouldn't do that at our own self-value. And so sometimes when we're in a relationship, especially, we want to make the other person happy. So we do anything and everything that they want to do. Maybe they want to go rock climbing and we're scared of heights, but we go anyways just because we want to make them happy. Whereas if we just had a conversation that I really don't like the rock climbing, maybe we could do something else, or maybe we could go to an indoor rock climbing thing where we're actually harnessed and feel a little safer, you know? So having those conversations are super important, because I think the other person actually cares about what you want to do as well, right? And so having that conversation and letting people know that you don't feel comfortable with that, or just learning no. The word no is a fabulous thing. And you can say no to things without having to explain why you don't want to do something. So if you get that call and you are asked to volunteer or do something for someone else, you can actually say no. And that gives somebody else an opportunity to step up and do that for them, and gives them that feel goodness of doing something to help someone else, instead of depleting ourselves because we said yes to something we didn't want to say yes to. So I think that's the biggest thing, whether it be relationships or even at work. I know lots of people that do work for other people that they should be doing themselves, and they never get the credit for it because they're doing somebody else's work, and then their work suffers because they're doing other people's work. So really just speak up.
Which again, I mean, you said it. Women are not typically taught to speak up. And
Right.
I've always admired women who, especially those who have said, you know, my dad taught me that if I didn't speak up for myself, that no one else would. And, you know, there's this, I don't know, 1% of women out there who have actually learned that attribute. And then there's the 4% who have graduated into understanding it and aligning with it and adopting it as part of their lifestyle. And then there are those that are closer to the top who are figuring it out. And for those figuring it out, what would you say is one of the first things that they come into in that space of figuring out that they don't like not speaking up for themselves, that they are uncomfortable because they're not saying no? Um, what do you see is one of the first things that women kind of open up to when they start recognizing that?
I think it comes down to our triggers, or that gut feeling. So, you know, if you see that someone's calling and you know they're going to ask you to do something and you don't even want to answer the call, that's a big sign that you need to set a boundary. And so learning how to read yourself, your gut, whatever it is you want to call it, is really important, because I think that, you know, we just, again, we want to be happy, we want to be loved, we want to be accepted. And sometimes people appreciate honesty, but we feel like we should just, you know, make them happy. But it really comes down to really just, first of all, if we don't know what our likes and dislikes are, that's a first step. We really need to figure out what are our likes and what are our dislikes. And rather than doing something we dislike or aren't maybe not even good at, we should figure that out. And once we figure that out, we are able to communicate that. But that's super important to figure out, what is it we like? So self-care, I mentioned earlier, is super important, but self-care to you might be different to self-care for me. So working out and getting a massage might be my self-care, and you might want to go climb that mountain that I mentioned earlier, you know, like that's just really important to figure out what is it you love.
And how would you say that you take women through unpacking that for themselves? What do you do?
Well, we go through different questions. So I think it's important to kind of go back and think about, maybe you can go back to when you're a child and think about what made you happy. You know, like coloring, for example. They have adult coloring books now. I don't know if you've tried this, but it's really relaxing to just like color, and it's fun. And so going back and really just thinking about, what is it that makes me happy? Maybe jumping off the cliff does make me happy. And, you know, like maybe, you know, going to the beach makes me happy, or maybe going camping makes me happy. And so just remembering something that makes you happy from whatever time of your life it was. And just remembering the joy that you felt at that time and what it is you want to do now to get that joy back, because it's really important to find your joy, because that's what makes you tick, and that's what helps you to love yourself and gives you the confidence to move forward and do what you want.
Yes. And it's really, you know, we talk about life is a journey. The exploration of self is a journey, because, you know, honestly, what you liked as a child, you really might not like now. I used to like climbing trees.
Right. Now
I
I'm
was,
scared to fall out of the tree and break
I
my
used,
arm.
exactly. I
Yeah.
used to like running down the back alley behind our house and watching the rabbits just fly across the alleyway, you know. And I used to like roller skating downhill really fast. No, thank you. So it really is important to look at where you are now and really come to grips with, sit with, allow it to bubble up and show you what it is that you like. And I you know it's easier for some people than others. I talked to a friend of mine, this is a couple of years ago, and we were on this thing of learning how to meditate. And I was like, you know, yeah, I meditate. I don't stay in it long, because when my head is like done, it's like I can't, why sit there? But by the same token, being there and seeing like colors and the just feeling the energy flow through you. And my friend was just like, she couldn't do it. And so she didn't like doing it. And we got into this whole thing about, well, what do you like? And she had to say, you know, that's a good question. And there are a lot of us who are there in that space. And I think it's important, whether you're journaling about it or you're just going to sleep at night with that on your mind. What do I like? And fall asleep. You know, you mentioned it, but our brains being connected to our heart have such an vast capacity for bringing in the things that are below the conscious level, that are exactly that, what we love. Um, Everything from colors and coloring to painting and playing music and singing. And, you know, how many stories have we heard of, especially women, our beauty just coming through, shining through as we have aged and come through this cycle of looking back and seeing how it is that we actually have grown and evolved. And you know, I'm looking at, I mentioned a couple of things, but what are some of the things, you know, I'm thinking about limiting beliefs. You know, one of the things I mentioned to my friend was, you know, you can't meditate. And did something happen to you that you have told yourself this story and you're believing this? You know, so how often are you in a conversation with somebody and it really is about, you know, deep embedded limiting beliefs and, you know, One belief maybe being, my first marriage didn't work out, I'll never get married again. I'm damaged goods. I'm, this type of thing. Tell us about some of your experiences there and some of your success solutions.
Wow. So I do believe that meditating isn't for everyone. Let's start with that. I when I first heard people talk about this, I was like, meditating. I picture somebody like with their eyes closed and their legs folded and just sitting there being quiet. But I've realized over the years that it centers you. So it's super important. And so by telling yourself that you can't do it, you're limiting yourself. And so that is possible that it's a limiting belief from, when you were a child or, like you said, being in a past relationship. It could have been something somebody said, like, why are you sitting there doing nothing when you could be doing this, this, and that? But centering yourself, especially in the morning before you start your day, is super important. So, I like to pray every morning. That's my, ritual, we'll just call it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have my things that I like to do in the mornings, and praying is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Meditating might be better for someone else, but sitting still, it's really hard to do, but so important, because that's where you get your clarity. That might be where you figure out what your likes and dislikes are. And sometimes maybe you can do it at night. People have different times that work for them. I am not a night owl. I cannot stay up till 2:00 in the morning. My kids, on the other hand, can stay up till 2:00 in the morning, get up at 6 and be on the go. I need my sleep. I need my 8 hours. That's super important as well, for not only my energy, but for my attitude. My kids know that if I don't get my 8 hours sleep, my whole family knows, my friends probably too, that if I don't get 8 hours of sleep, Carol is grumpy. And so, figuring all of that out is really important. But going back to limiting beliefs, we all have limiting beliefs. And it could be, like you said, something that's triggered from our childhood or a past relationship. So I think it's super important to figure out what your triggers are. I call them ghosts from past relationships, because if you are holding on to those and trying to start a new relationship, anytime that person does or says something that's even similar to somebody, whether it be a friend or spouse or whatever, that's going to trigger something inside of you. And it might be legit, but it might be that you're holding on to anger that you need to let go. It might be that you need to accept the apology that you'll never get. That was a big one for me, is learning to accept the apology I'll never get. Now, it eventually came. And at the time I was bitter and I was like, thanks, but no thanks. But I've come to realize that the forgiveness is for me, not for them. Mm-hmm. And so learning what those beliefs, limiting beliefs are, and or triggers and ghosts, is just so important to move forward in any relationship, whether it be your family, your friends, your kids, anything like that.
It is. I think that, again, there's so many ways for us to wake up to the knowledge that a limiting belief is knocking on our door saying, hello, can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you feel me? I'm trying to make you aware so that we can address this and you can let me go. I love how we have been created, that is a possibility within us. And the fact that that can happen so easily with some really difficult things, I think it really makes most people, I think, afraid of accepting that. It takes courage sometimes to release that thing that's been holding you, whether it's the anger or the guilt or the shame of something that may have occurred. But I also think that that is part of what our body, our internal being, is attempting to align. It's like the conscious and unconscious are trying to align to make us our best, our healthiest, our wealthiest selves. And so I just love how we have those opportunities if we are in tune and listening.
Right. That is so important to really listen. And that's why that quiet time is so important. So even if it's not meditation, being quiet for 5 minutes seems like a long time, even when you first start out. 5 minutes, just sit there and listen. Go out in the wilderness. Maybe walking for 5 minutes is better than sitting and meditating, but just getting out and seeing the beauty. Sometimes I look around here in Tucson and we have such beautiful mountains. I forget sometimes. And I just look at the mountains and I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. Why didn't I see this yesterday? Or a sunset or anything. Like, there's beauty everywhere. And when we just stop and look at it, we get that clarity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In your opinion, Carol, what are two of the greatest assets that women can gain on their journey to this second chance or into this second chance? Two greatest assets that women can gain.
Well, I think the main one is we have healthier relationships. When we learn what we want and we go after it, we're happier. And so other people around us are happier. So that's huge. And I think we become more productive because we're in control of our time. So setting boundaries is huge. Healthy boundaries, not just any kind of boundary, but healthy boundaries is huge, because when we are in control of what we want and our time, and we allow space in that time for interruptions, because they'll happen no matter what. If you allow space in your day, it makes for much more productivity and happiness, because you're not stressed out when something happens. You have to go pick up your kids because they're sick, or just anything could happen. A friend calls you and they are very upset, and you can take that 5 or 10 minutes to have a conversation. But when you schedule yourself back to back to back to back to back, you stress yourself out, because one, you're scheduling yourself back to back to back to back, but you're not allowing time for yourself throughout the day, time for those interruptions. And so I think that makes you healthier as well, and just gives you more time and energy to get through the day.
Yes, you are so right about that. The kind of stress we create for ourselves, there's enough that's coming at us from external sources anyway. Let us learn how to not contribute to our own stress levels.
Right. Exactly.
So Carol, how common is it that women, especially women who just want to get it right, they want to have the love of their lives, they want to have those original dreams. How common is it that women find it hard, really hard, to start over, to dream new dreams, to even believe that a blended family works, or a second marriage or a third marriage would work?
I think it's very common. I think sometimes we go from thing to thing to thing, whether it be job, relationship, whatever. Maybe we just don't want to be alone. So we jump from relationship to relationship to relationship. And those triggers and ghosts jump from relationship to relationship to relationship. So I think it's really important to take time in between to figure out what it is we want, what it is that we want to dream. And so one of the things I'm really excited about starting is these classes about, what do we want? How do we want to communicate with ourselves? How do we talk to ourselves? So a lot of us don't really think about it, but we'll have a thought and we'll just discount that thought. It might be a brilliant idea, but we just discount it because we don't think we're good enough, or we don't think we're this, or we don't think we're that. And so I think that it's super important to take that time to dream again. Do a dream board, do, something that you want to do, like, what is it you want for yourself? What is it you want for your family? What are your health goals? What are you doing each day to create more energy and all of that stuff, so that you can dream again? But when you go from job to job to job to job, you have no time to dream or even figure out what your passion is. Are you even in the right job? What if you just took 30 seconds, 30 minutes, 30 days, whatever, and just really focused on those dreams and there's those goals and what it is that you really truly want?
Oh, yes. That sounds, that sounds fun. That sounds like, yes. And my question would be, when do I want to have that time? Because, a lot of times it's about, I have this to do, I have this to do, I have this to do, and then I take care of me. And I have no time to really just sit somewhere and think and dream and ask myself, what do I really want in my life? Yet it's so important to do. When we talk about a healthy lifestyle and using lifestyle and food as medicine, one of the things that I really held on to and hold to this day is a passage from the Bible that says laughter is good medicine. And, knowing that the food that was provided on the earth for us to have easy access to, fresh, consumable in its natural state, in its life form that brings life into us and healthiness, we've elected to leave a lot of those things behind. And I want to ask you, and this might be really opinionated because my opinion is that we've learned to make some really bad choices. We've been indoctrinated and, just brainwashed to think that certain lifestyle attributes are like the thing, and consuming certain foods are the thing. And I remember I've had several friends of mine talk about, I've worked for 20 or 30 years and I should be able to eat whatever I want to eat and live however I want to live. And then they're in this space of, ill health and, failing relationships. And what are some of the things, well, one thing that someone can do that really puts them in this lifestyle of health and wellness?
Well, one thing that's super important is going back to the schedule is, schedule it. Schedule time for yourself. Schedule time to eat throughout the day. If you're going all day long and you have absolutely no choice but to go through a fast food drive-through because you're in such a rush to get from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting, that is not good. Occasionally, once in a blue moon, if you want those, burger and fries, that's okay. But what you put in your body fuels your body. So if you're eating carbs and chips and fries and, a lot of stuff that's not really good for you, and all that salt makes you bloated, just so you know.
The
I'm
salt
realizing
and the
that.
sugar. Yeah.
It's so bad for you. And so, like you said, eating more fruits and vegetables. I've actually been in this habit for maybe 30 days now, where I have been making shakes or smoothies, whatever you want to call them. I put spinach in them. I put, fruit and sometimes some veggies. And it's just made me so much healthier. I have nails now. I have never had nails. They usually break before, they get even to be an eighth of an inch or a 16th of an inch. They usually just break. I noticed the other day, my nails are actually strong. And I've never had strong nails. They've always been flimsy. So just taking the time to eat more fruits and vegetables has been amazing for me. And my energy, I don't usually, I sometimes have the caffeine, but I've been doing more decaffeinated coffee than I do caffeinated coffee, just because I have the energy. I've been, doing really well. So it's super helpful to make sure and think about what we're eating, because it's definitely nourishing our body. And it also helps us lose weight, when we're thinking about what we put on there instead of having, I love my steak and potatoes too, but again, occasionally.
I think we all have our vices, but the beauty of vices is you don't do it every day. It is not the common. And one of the things that I've been in conversation around a lot of late is really unlearning some of the things that we have learned over time and learning the things that put us on this journey of a healthy lifestyle and a healthy diet and creating the wealth within us to create the wealth outside of us. And I think that this is such a great conversation because we've talked about a lot of successful solutions and how it is that we can create great second chances for ourselves. Because again, we never know what it is that we're going to be facing. And we never know when that thing will end. But when something ends, it also means that there's something new that's beginning. And I just think that when you look at those new beginnings, when you embrace them as opportunities for better, for, healthier, wealthier, more beautiful and joyful times ahead, you can resonate that out to have it attract back to you. So, Carol,
Absolutely.
as we bring our conversation to a close, is there some wisdom that you believe is important to share? Something that you want to have a positive impact on our audience? Please, please impart that wisdom to us.
I think the most important thing for all of us, women, men, children, is to focus on our self-care. A lot of people think that it's selfish, but it's not. It's really necessary in order to create the energy we need, to create the happiness we want. It all revolves around figuring out what we want, building our own confidence up, because our confidence relates to our trust. And if we're not trusting ourselves, we're not trusting ourselves to make the right decisions. And so really building your confidence and learning to love yourself is so important.
Beautiful. Well said. I totally agree. And it's one of the undergirding principles in that lifestyle piece. Where do you begin to have that wholesome, healthy lifestyle? First begins with loving self. Carol, thank you so much for being here with us today. I've so enjoyed this. I always enjoy talking with you. This has been great because you've just confirmed so many things that I think that even if our audience has heard before, they need to hear again. And for those who are just hearing it, second chances begins with our health, our wealth, our wisdom. And when you are open to seeing what might come your way, I think you're more able to get the most out of everything that comes your way.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much.
Thank
And
you so much for having me here today.
absolutely. And to our audience, let us know what you'd like to hear more about. We can only do that when we hear from you, when you comment below the video and let us know that you've enjoyed the show, your biggest takeaway, let us know. And if you are a health, wisdom, or wealth practitioner and you'd like to share your expertise and knowledge with our audience to be in the conversation of living your most powerful life, reach out to me. You can PM me, message me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or email me at vlin@p3academy.com and let's connect. So on that note, everyone, we've got some exciting things ahead. So turn on your notifications so that you'll know when we're going live. And please do us a favor of sharing. Help us to get the message out. Thanks again. And until next time, be well. Live, love, and be a bigger positive impact in your world. And we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.